Good morning, and thank you, Elizabeth. I'm very excited to be partnering, collaborating with Moore Center colleagues, and I'll be telling you about our next project, which we hope will be funded soon and started soon. Um, I'm going to shift gears and talk now about a focus on potential perpetrators. Our project is a primary prevention initiative that will universally target all school adolescents around reducing their risk to go on to be perpetrators of child sexual abuse. So when you think about what we're doing already, and this is a huge, important endeavor, there's lots of universal school-based programs, again, universal being trying to work with every kid, not just kids who are at risk, school-based, classroom-based universal programs that are focused on children as potential victims. So like Dr. Mendelssohn's work, trying to help the child in this case learn how to protect themselves from perpetration. And so what these programs tend to do is tell kids about the problem, help them recognize when they might be in a situation where this is happening, resist that from happening, and also to report it. So it's a lot of content around good touch, bad touch, just saying no and getting out of the situation and telling a safe adult if somebody tried to touch you in that way. Unfortunately, at this point in time, we don't know whether those approaches actually reduce incidence rates. That's really hard to figure out. But do the kids who have those programs end up being abused less because they've been hardened against, they're more sophisticated, right? Versus kids who don't have those programs. We really don't know if it's effective in reducing their victimization. I'm going to now run you through an idea for a primary approach, reaching kids before they've been show any risk. Okay, so we want to focus on early adolescence. This would be sort of a middle school population, and our reason for that is that adolescents are perpetrators in about 36% of all CSA reports. So these are police reports or Child Protective Service reports. The official data, it's a huge chunk of the perpetrators from what we know from the legal system. We know that most of those perpetrators are between 12 and 14 years old, and most are males. So most are male adolescents. Okay, so what would we potentially go after if we're going to try to bolster against this at the universal level? Nothing's actually happened with these kids yet, right? But I think if we look at the treatment literature, we can make some inferences about some targets here. So juvenile sex offenders have these kinds of problems that before they offend are probably leading the way to offending. So we know that juvenile sex offenders have lower sex knowledge, lower knowledge of developmental differences, so they just don't kind of get that younger kids are not not the same as them. And they have other kinds of cognitive distortions, like a child took her clothes off in front of me and that meant she wanted sex, kind of related to the developmental difference thing. But when you talk to juvenile sex offenders, these are the kinds of things that come out about why these incidents occur. At the family level, Dr. Mendelssohn laid these out very well, that we tend to see families where there's not good communication about sex, where parents are not monitoring these situations where older kids are alone with younger kids. So here's what we want to do. We have an application in right now, myself with Dr. Letourneau and Dr. Bradshaw, to NICHD for a small pilot study which would involve 4 Baltimore City classrooms, I think it's 2 schools and 4 classrooms of 6th and 7th graders. 8 schools, right, 8 schools, 4 classrooms. And what we're going to do is we're going to hopefully target the health classroom, the sex ed classes in those schools, and randomize the classrooms to either receive our intervention or not. We're calling the intervention the responsible behavior with young children. Notice that the words perpetration, offending, and child sexual abuse are not a part of our title. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But this is a really relatively low-cost, manageable intervention, running about 10 weeks, 1 time a week in that sex ed classroom, 10 weeks to get through 8 modules of about 30 minutes each. I'm really excited about the parent piece of this intervention. We're going to try to keep it, it's primarily in the classroom, but we're going to have these homework assignments that will engage parents in this work. So the first thing, these are kind of scattered throughout the 8-week intervention. So we're going to have the adolescent go home and do a homework assignment where they make a roster of all the young children in their life, which is to begin to sensitize parents to the potential risky context that this adolescent has. It turns out this adolescent does do a lot of babysitting, or there are a lot of cousins around on the weekends, right? And so just to begin to understand the contacts that this teen is having with younger children. And then to begin to do applying some of the perspective taking and developmental difference stuff with actual kids in the teen's life. So the parent is going to facilitate some conversations about, yeah, your little cousin is really different, right? And we've talked about this. And eventually moving up to parents having information. The teen is going to teach the parent about child sexual abuse. So they're going to have their own myths dispelled around it, very similar to your curriculum, Dr. Mendelson, but the kids teach the parents about that. And then we're going to have parents facilitate a homework assignment where the parents make a strong expectation that kids not do this.